Welcome everyone to today's live stream. Anna is ready. Ideology is ready. Ayanora is ready.
Welcome everyone. Ayanora is ready. To today's
Andreo
live
is
stream.
ready. Tall is ready.
Today's live stream. Ideology is ready.
Anna is ready. Ideology is ready. Ayanora is ready.
Welcome everyone. Ayanora is ready. Welcome to today's
Andreo
live
is
stream.
ready. Tall is ready.
Today's live stream. Ideology is ready.
Anna is ready. Ideology is ready. Ayanora is ready.
Welcome everyone. Ayanora is ready. Welcome to today's
Andreo
live
is
stream.
ready. Tall is ready.
Today's live stream. Ideology is ready.
Anna is ready. Ideology is ready. Ayanora is ready.
Welcome everyone. Ayanora is ready.
We should be good now. We should be good now, right? There should be no echo. Correct?
We should be good now. We should be good now, right?
Why is this
there should
not
be
working?
no echo. Correct?
I don't know why I'm having technical difficulties, so please wait a minute. It's so odd. You guys can, we're good now?
It's so odd.
No, it's not. We're not good.
You guys can, we're good now?
Something is wrong because my stream isn't even open on my computer.
No, it's not.
This
We're
is
not good.
impossible.
You guys can.
Fam, we're gonna try one more time. We're gonna try this one more time. I think we're in the clear. I think we're in the clear. What a great start. Are we good? Ah.
Claps in the chat for the other Barack. Who got our backs, you know that is the other Barack. Claps in the chat for the other Barack. I feel it in my spirit when I hear the words he's saying.
With the grit and determination,
The stirring nation with his
boots on the ground,
He see the propaganda popping up and he's
shooting it down.
raw with the
Shout out to
facts,
Chrome.
but smooth with the sound. And if you like the movement, then
You can get down.
You gotta be in the fam.
Join the Discord.
And follow the Instagram.
We a worldwide community.
They try to divide, but we fortify with unity. Yeah. Really about this.
So I joined the. Yes, you will.
To put my money where my mouth is. Now you're ready to rock, cause I'm ready to go. One more time for the other Barack, then we'll get to the show. Claps in the chat for the other Barack.
Can people drop the clapping emoji for Chrome for dropping the best intro song any YouTuber could ever ask for? Let's play the shofar for Chrome, please. Please drop the clapping emoji for the man himself, Chrome, the legend. Ideology says other Barack cultural appropriation. That's right. That's right. And also, please tell us exactly where you are in the world. Please drop your flag. I'm gonna drop mine because it's tradition. Where is everyone calling from? We got some people coming on. We got the fam is coming in. Hello everyone. I love to see the waves, the flags, the love, the green hearts. It's so awesome to see all of you here. Sushila, Zohar. I'm very excited about this live stream and moving forward with a really cool implementation on my platform. And I'm gonna talk about it briefly now. Then we're gonna talk about the meat and potatoes of why we're here with my story. And then at the end, I'm gonna talk about details and what this looks like moving forward. Excuse me. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to create more of the inner circle community and other Barak family outside of just YouTube. And many of you may be familiar with the model of, for example, Tal, the traveling Klat, who has his YouTube live streams, and then after that there is the inner community, the fam, the inner circle that continue on Patreon. And that is a very similar model to where I'm moving forward towards, because not only are a lot of the live streams going to be transitioned from YouTube and then continuing those conversations on Patreon, I'm going to be giving a lot of leeway to and say actually to a lot of the patrons and the Patreon members to have suggestions about what content they want to see. And in fact, a lot of the suggestions and polls and what the inner circle wants, I'm gonna pull out content from there, and that's what I'm going to make. So once a week there will always be a piece of content that comes directly from you, not from me. And a lot of you are going to have a lot of say in suggestions and titles and ideas, and I want a lot of the some of the autonomy to also be available to you and everybody here who's really supportive. I'll go through the details later at the end of the stream, but I'm really excited about this because it's going to be integrated, of course, with Discord, but it's not just about having the Discord. It's on the Patreon of being able to build out a specific place where everyone has that inner family, inner circle opportunity. So I'll get the details later, but just expect that moving forward, my streams are essentially going to be starting on YouTube. Some of them will be about me, in case, in the case of today, where it's going to be a lot of the storytelling aspect, personal brand aspect, things that people are asking for me to talk more about and elaborate on. And then after, we're not going to be doing it today. Today is going to be the sort of the introduction to what's moving forward. But moving forward, do expect a model where if you want to continue the conversation, if you want to join the inner circle, if you want to have more access, if you want to have exclusive and bonus content, if you want to have early release drops and, being able to see stuff behind the scenes, and if you want to really, support the community, that's going to be on Patreon. And I'm very excited about it because a lot of people aren't only interested in like the Israel-Palestine, the advocacy stuff. I'm a very multi-dimensional person. It's not just Israel. It's not just the conflict in the Middle East. There's so many other layers about me that exist underneath the skin that you're looking at. There's so much substance that has led to an experience that I've had at 28 years old, which has really led to me being who I am, and the things that I've done. And I want to share that with you. So Uday Kumar says, how are you? I'm doing great, man. Good to have you here. And so that leads me to speaking about what it has been like going from the US to Israel and taking all of you back to when I was 6 years old. And if anybody has a question, by the way, feel free to ask them here if you want me to be able to address them immediately. Any super chats, any questions, those will get tagged first. And other than that, I will try to do my best to read through the comments as I'm speaking, and also try to address questions, anything that you guys want. We're going to open up a Discord call after this, for everybody so that they can ask any questions. And let's go. When I was so I'm from the greater Boston area, and when I was 6 years old, it was important for my parents and to have a time with all of us together in the state of Israel, to experience living in the homeland, experience living in Israel with my brother and I, all four of us, because my parents thought it was crucial in order for the foundation of Jewish education and Zionism to be embedded into my life and to my brother's life, that our family has an experience together living in Israel. And this is really, it starts off very quick because in 2001, when I was only 6 years old, my parents, my brother and I, on visas, went to Jerusalem. My dad was a part of a program where he was studying for 2 years. My mom was a part of different projects and initiatives to bridge together communities between Arabs and Jews. She was a part of lots of volunteer projects and nonprofits and NGOs, trying to really do things to expose our family to what Israel is, what Israel was. You can only imagine as a 6-year-old who is very comfortable with his community, his environment, his friends, his home, then being taken across the ocean to this place called Israel, the Middle East. I didn't know any Hebrew. I'd never seen Israel on a map before. And I, as a 6-year-old, what 6-year-old likes to get taken out of his or her element? And it felt very much at the time that I was being taken out of my element. And of course, at 6 years old, you don't have the perspective and level of understanding to know that there's a bigger picture, attempt here for my parents as to why they're doing this. They weren't trying to upset me. They weren't trying to upset my brother. Any 6-year-old that's told to pack their bags, we're going across the ocean, they're going to be opposed to it. And I can tell you that I was really opposed to it. I didn't really have a choice. We came. We went to Jerusalem. And Israel is very different in every aspect than the United States. It doesn't matter what part of the United States that you are from. I remember when we first got here, it was like the second week we were at our first apartment, and these two officials, either from the government or the IDF, came to our front door. They knocked on the door, and they had 2 boxes with them. They came into our house. They put the boxes on the kitchen table. It was all 4 of us. And they took out 4 gas masks. The gas masks were given to our family for us to understand that if need be, we would have to use these under the circumstance of some sort of a missile being sent into Israel that could potentially let off lethal breathable gas, essentially, that is either deadly or toxic or could harm you. And my parents and my brother had a gas mask that was just like ventilated through a few holes, and I tried it on, and it was really uncomfortable because I felt claustrophobic. I felt choked up. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My brother was 10 and I was 6. I was given a gas mask that had a 12-hour battery on it. It had a switch on the side where I could flick it on and off. So once I put it on, there was essentially a fan that was blowing air into the mask, because at 6 years old, claustrophobia is much more of an intense thing, not across the board of all children, but on average for a 6-year-old is much harder from a claustrophobic standpoint than a 10-year-old, which was my brother. And I remember the first thing that went through my head was like, because the anxiety that I used to have was, what am I going to do if I ever have to use this and the 12-hour battery goes out, Because I was so uncomfortable with the gas mask that my parents had and my brother had. I immediately went to like, what am I going to do if I ever have to use this and I'm not going to have the gas mask anymore. The reason I'm telling you this element of our move to Israel is because even at the age of 6, without any context, without any Hebrew, without any understanding, I'm at a new house, a new apartment, a new language, a new world, a new culture, a new reality that involved, as a 6-year-old, having to comprehend that in the house we had stored away gas masks. I didn't think too much of it, and we've never had to use them. But it made me realize quickly how important it was for me to grow very thick skin. No American, no Bostonian, no person from New York would ever, they can't comprehend the concept of putting a gas mask on their head, because certain countries and enemy states surrounding that state have threats constantly towards that home, and some of those threats go as far as certain gas being inhaled and lethal and deadly. And so I remember when I was at school, just at 6 years old, I was not aware of the fact that we had the sirens go off. A lot of you who have followed me or followed Tall on Instagram see sometimes even Tall, like last week when he was in the middle of running to the shelter, you can hear the sirens. So in Israel, there are sirens. There are like massive speakers that are basically built on the top and the roofs of a lot of the buildings here. And the sirens go off when the defense system recognizes a potential incoming missile to that general vicinity. And the siren goes off and it goes off, and you have a specific amount of time allotted to how quickly you have to go to get to a shelter. Sometimes they had like drills and sirens that were they were fake, like there weren't actually rockets being fired, but they had sirens go off for training students on how to respond. And students as in like kids. I was in first grade. No, I didn't speak any Hebrew when I came here. And the school that I went to was mostly Hebrew speaking. There were teacher assistants and there were other English speaking students. But the hardest thing for me was absolutely adapting to school. No language, cultural barrier, and then suddenly this element of like fear coming into the picture. Because I had just experienced this whole thing with gas masks, and now I'm at school one day and a siren went off in school, and I was not told that this was a drill. So all of the kids in my class, the lights went off, the shades went down, and all of the kids went under the table. And I had no idea that this was a drill. I thought this was a real siren. I thought this was a real attack. All says, Ay shalom todah she'ta tomech banu. All says, thank you, hello, thank you for supporting us. You are more than welcome. Ba'avachi. I didn't know this was a drill. And I panicked. I started crying. I was under the table. I thought my life was over. Like, I thought that was it. And only after I found out that this was a drill, standard protocol. They were trying to figure out if the kids understood what the right response was. They're trying to also teach people to be calm in a state where it's very difficult to be calm. This is all 6 years at 6 years old, you know? I want everyone to understand that, because no American, no Canadian, no European just steps into a society that automatically thrusts you into having this pretty early education and understanding that when this sound goes off, when you're walking with mom and dad through the park, or you're going to school, or you're going to the store, and this sound goes off, you beeline to the building near you to go to the first floor of the building. You beeline to the nearest shelter if you know where they are. If you're driving, you pull over, you go to the side of the road, and you get on the ground. If it doesn't, you know, life stops, the world freezes. And I think a lot of the experiences I had within Israel, and I'm going to get to one of them very, very quickly in a moment. I think a lot of the experiences that I had in Israel, MD explains hello. I know, by the way, everyone, I know I'm missing a lot of the questions. I'm just trying to really, this is like off, you know, from the soul, just trying to explain to a lot of you what my experience was first ever in Israel. So I apologize if I'm missing some of these questions. If somebody does want to get something answered urgently, feel free to super chat. I'll see it pop up. I'll try to grab it. Other than that, you can save it to the end or when we go to Discord. And thank you, Ayanora, Shayna. Thank you for the moderators. We're always encouraging people to thumbs up. If the more that you guys like this, the more people we can get in here. Any super chats are also really, really appreciated. It gets more people in here. I was born in 1995, for those that are asking. So please like, thumbs up, share this. And a lot of the experiences that I had in Israel, I think contributed to the wave of anxiety that I had as a kid. I just want to read this very quickly. HB says, ברק, תודה רבה על כל מה שאתה עושה, אתה נקודת אור ומלאך בכדור הארץ הזה, בעיקר בתקופה כזאת. וואו. It's powerful. You know, my Hebrew is not perfect, but I'm able to read all of this. HB says, Barak, thank you for everything that you do. You are a Nikudat O is a you are a shining light. You are a shining light on this earth, and especially in this period of time. And so maybe Magpie says, Ach sheli hayakar, my brother. No, I'm not 30. I'm 28 years old. Anyways, the experiences that I had here, going from the boxes that were handed at 6 years old to the siren drill that I had at school, to seeing soldiers every single day walk around with guns strapped around, where you see army vehicles, where you see things in the news, where you hear, you get exposed to it, and it's crazy because this environment just automatically becomes your norm. It becomes the regular thing that you're used to, which is, I think, my theory as to why a lot of the people consider Israelis to be very resilient, because what is normal to them, what they are forced to adapt to as their inhabitants, is actual tense and hostile environments that they are unfortunately forced to be in. So they're given a plate, essentially. They inherit a lot of this Middle Eastern culture, army, war, sirens, threats, all these things, and we don't have that in the West. We don't have that in America. And so I got exposed to this very early, and it allowed me to grow like really, really thick skin. It allowed me to be somebody who has been around tense environments, hostile environments, scary environments. It absolutely put a lot of anxiety into my body, into who I am. And because when I was younger, and when I'm going to get to the story in a second, when I went back to the States after 2 years, I was diagnosed with like severe anxiety. I was on an antidepressant. And I think, tracing back to the days in Israel, there probably is, right, some connection between not the trauma, technically actually trauma, because the story I'm going to tell you is pretty fucking insane, but a connection to getting that kind of an exposure as an outsider at such an early age, and then having it all stay with you. And what do I mean by having it all stay with you? One morning, I was walking to school with my brother. Please keep in mind that during the period of time that I lived in Israel, 2001 to 2003, was during the Second Intifada. The Second Intifada is arguably one of the more dangerous periods of time in Israel in terms of suicide bombs, attacks inside of Israel. We're talking about people that are, going into buses and neighborhoods and restaurants and shooting people up, seeping into Israel with the utter intention of absolutely annihilating and terrorizing and killing as many people as possible, any walk of life, boy, girl, man, woman. And I lived in Israel during this period of time. So not only was I just getting exposed to Israel, ladies and gentlemen, I was getting thrusted into one of the more dangerous times on record in Israel. And one day I was walking to school with my brother. I lived in Jerusalem. We lived relatively close to the school that we were going to. I can't really give you a sense of distance right now because I'm in my apartment and I don't have something to show you. I'm not very good with like kilometers, meters. Imagine the length of, do all of you know how to like wrap your head around like the length of a football field, American football? Let's say 50 yards is how many meters? So the length, 45 meters. 45 meters. So 50 yards is a football field is 100 yards. Half of a football field is 50 yards, which means I'm talking about 45 meters. Are you all with me here? 45 meters, 50 yards. Not 100 yards. Half the length of a football field. Put a thumbs up if you're with me, because I want you to understand the distance. Great. Great. 45 meters, 50 yards. Awesome. So I was essentially walking to school, excuse me, and a car did explode on the way to school when I was walking with my brother about 45 meters away from us. There was a bomb underneath the car. It exploded. We ducked, we went down, and then we ran back to the house. At 6 years old, car bomb goes off on my street, walking to school with my brother. 45 meters walking probably takes, I don't know, 13 seconds, 15 seconds, 17 seconds. I don't know, it doesn't matter. And the way that I sometimes think about it is, what if I chose to brush my teeth for 30 or 45 seconds less that morning? What if I was able to get on my outfit quicker? What if I didn't take an extra bite out of the cereal bowl? What if, I don't know. What if something cut off 30 seconds of time? And that's the part that kind of like is crazy to me, because 30 seconds could have changed the outcome of my life and my brother's life. And things were so tense in Israel in terms of terrorist attacks. My parents, by the way, I want to also mention, my parents knew exactly what was going on in Israel. And they still decided to take our family and live here. People might call it crazy, stupid, insane. I call it brave, courageous, and unforgettable. It's unforgettable. It's also kind of incomprehensible when you can't really define and explain how one's mother and father choose to still take your family away from an extremely safe climate, from the greater Boston area to where there is no such thing remotely close to this kind of hostility and environment, to taking your own two children, both young, 6 and 10 years old, to the Middle East. And they still took us there. Things were so tense, things were so crazy, that after the first year, I was there from first grade to second grade. During that summer, my family actually went back to the States. My parents said it's too much. 2 months go by. We got there in July. July and August, we go back to the States. End of August, beginning of September, my parents said, you know what? 1 year wasn't enough. So we went back for a second year. We went back to Jerusalem, back to where we were, back to the hostility, back to the second intifada, back to the bombs, back to the shelters, back to the sirens. And it's really insane. It's really crazy to think that that's a real thing that I went through. And I have a smile on my face because A, nobody can take that away from me. And B, my parents and their determination for our family to have that valuable time together in Israel as a family, they were never going to not let that happen. 1 year wasn't enough. My dad was on a program to study. Sorry, my mom was volunteering. So there was a lot going on. And the reason I love talking about these 2 years is because first and second grade for me in Jerusalem, not being in America, not being with all those people, those 2 years, not only do I remember pretty much everything, those 2 years planted the seed for what later became the Zionist that I am today, who has chosen to make Aliyah and live in Israel. If I didn't have that experience going to Israel, living in Jerusalem, we lived 10 minutes away from the Western Wall, the old city. We would spend sometimes Friday night Shabbat. We would go down Sunset. We would walk all the way to the Kotel. We would do prayers at the Kotel, at the Western Wall in Jerusalem on a Friday. Holy, memorable. You felt connection. You felt energy. You felt change within you, chemicals that only stir up within your body when you go there. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to have a very big belief in God. You just have to be open. And even even at an early age, I was open to what I was witnessing. I was open to being so drawn into the energy that you just fucking automatically have when you step foot over there. For some people, it's more intense, and for some people, it's less intense. I'll tell you in a second how this connects to later in life and why I feel like this is also an intense thing for me, in a good way. So I did first and second grade in Israel. And I don't remember feeling the day-to-day anxiety. I do remember absolutely the noise and the sound. Shout out to Junie. Junie, I have missed you, girl. Can we ring the bell real quick for Junie? Where'd the bell emoji go? Let's clap it up for Junie for this first super chat of the day. Says, thank you for sharing your story. You don't have to thank me. You don't have to thank me. Can we clap it up? Can we clap it up for Junie? Thank you so much for that. You're more than welcome. You don't have to thank me for sharing my story. I'm a storyteller. I tell stories. This is why I'm here. Claps in the chat for Junie and Shark. For claps, let's show some love right now. Let's throw some claps in the chat. Tall is in here, people. The legend. The name Tall has come out of my mouth. I've said so many fucking things about this man. I've been talking about him, like how much he means to me the past 24 hours. Like, I've said Tall more than any other fucking word. Any other word. Clap it up. Show some love. Show some love to Junie. Thank you. So, I don't remember the day-to-day anxiety, but what I do remember, and no Israeli can forget, is the sound of the siren, which is one that it empties your stomach, and at the same time, it still fills up a massive hole. So it's this very, very weird contrast between, like, you feel like you've got nothing, and at the same time, you're full of anxiety. And you can even hear it when it's not being played. And I got this sound at a very early age, dosed just at 6 years old. And I think that is where some of the anxiety started to remain inside of my body, even when going back to the States. If I would hear a cop car or an ambulance, my first instinct was always like worst case scenario. This dissipated, but like that was the effect that it had on me. So I don't know how many of you really knew that those 2 years were not just 2 years that I spent in Israel. They were 2 years that I spent with my brother, with my mom and my dad. I learned Hebrew on a conversational level. I didn't come back fluent. I didn't have all of the different nuances for the language. I was doing my best to try and practice, but I was mostly around my family, obviously, and then other English-speaking students. So it was dabbling in Hebrew for the first time ever. But then after we did our back and forth, so I did first grade, back to Israel, back to the States in the summer, second grade, then we went back to the States. When I went back to the States, I ended up going to a private school from 3rd grade to 8th grade. And the school was very small. There were only 20 kids in my class. There were a few other Israelis. But I already came in as an outsider, right? all of the kids at this school, it was K through 8, kindergarten through 8th grade. So the majority of the students and the kids at this school started in kindergarten and then went through 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade all the way through. So they were together. I came in as an outsider. I just came in 3rd grade. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. 20 kids in my class. 15 of them continued on to go to the private high school in the area, the Jewish private high school. 3 of them went to my rival public high school. 1 of them went to one of the other public high school, and I was the 20th, and I went to the public high school near me. Why did I choose to go to public high school versus continuing on to the private Jewish high school? A lot of different reasons. Number one, I grew up in a house with a lot of Jewish culture and tradition. Both of my parents do come from a rabbinical background, and I felt it was time for me to actually take a step away from the heavy doses of learning and studying Torah, Tanakh, Toshba. And I didn't want more of that to be in the curriculum of my day-to-day. On a bigger scale, when I lived in Israel during 1st and 2nd grade, The Reckoning 613 Barak, please stop wasting our time with your technical issues. Get focused and succinct before going on air. You are boring me with gobbledygook. My brother, The Reckoning, you are not required to be here, brother. If you're not enjoying it, you know, the front door is right in front of you, or the back door. You can choose either one to go out. It is your prerogative, my guy. Anyways, nothing but love. Anyways, I chose also to go to the public high school because when I was in Israel during 1st and 2nd grade, that was the first time that I ever picked up a basketball. And when I picked up a basketball, it was like the first time that I ever really felt free. It was the first time that I ever felt meditation, love, connection, harmony. The basketball court was a place where like all of the bad, and keep in mind, I'm in Israel, all of the bad, the sirens, the bombs, the war, the lack of clarity, lack of identity, misunderstanding, foreign country, no Hebrew. You know, I felt very much on an island here. And the basketball court was essentially the beginning and first attempt to find a way for me to have therapy. So I played basketball here. And so when I went back to the States, I told you I was with 20 other kids, kindergarten through 8th grade, 165 kids. And I came in as this outsider. I just came back from 2 years in fucking Israel, the Middle East. I just came from a house and a kitchen that has 4 boxed up gas masks upstairs with sirens on the roof, back to Greater Boston, where the worst possible thing that's going on is somebody is jaywalking. Okay? That's the transition that I was going back to. And when I went back to middle school, I noticed how different I felt from my counterparts, the people there. During recess, when we had lunch and we'd go outside, I played basketball. There was 2 hoops outside, there were swing sets, there was 4 square, there was a playground, there was a field to play soccer. I mean, I see it in my head right now. I always just went to go play basketball every single day on my own. Whoever wanted to play knockout or come play with me, they could play, but I was just basketball. And the rest of the kids did their own thing. And I did this from 3rd to 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I always felt like an outsider because I was so focused on basketball. Then I went to public high school because I wanted to focus on this dream in pursuit of being a basketball player. And when I went to public high school, I came in as an outsider again. Why did I come in as an outsider again? Because the kids that went to my public high school, they started at kindergarten in the local area. They did 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade together. You know, elementary, lower school. Then they did middle school together, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And then they went to high school. From kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, these kids were together their whole life. We're talking about 12 years of education together. And this is a very common thing, right? Everybody who's sitting here right now watching the stream, you have your own local community. And all of the kids that are there obviously start somewhere, whether it's a elementary school or a lower school or a middle school or a high school, but a lot of them are sort of the ones who stay in the public school system. They are together. These are their friends from day one. I came in from Israel. I came back to a private school. Did that from 3rd to 8th grade. Then I left the private school and I went to a public high school with people who I didn't know anybody. The only people I knew were the people that I was playing basketball with. So I went from an outsider, and I went to being an outsider coming into Israel. I was received as an outsider. Here's a kid from Boston, 6, 7, and 8 years old. That outsider leaves, goes back to school, middle school, in the greater Boston area as an outsider. He just came from Israel. That middle schooler leaves and goes to a public high school. Now is a new outsider coming into a public high school. I was so used to not having a very familiar environment and not having a solid group of people and friends and a foundation around me wherever I was going, starting at the age of 6. I was very independent. My brother also guided me along this way of just, he allowed me to mature very early. And the one thing, and someone said it earlier here on the stream, the one thing that kept me sane was basketball. Basketball kept me sane up here. It kept me sane up here. It kept me connected. It kept me healed. It kept me feeling like I had something to do and I needed therapy. And it allowed me to meet the people that I know, the friends that I have, the environment that I wanted to be in. And basketball took me to high school. Basketball took me to college. And basketball also has absolutely taken me to Israel. I will spend time absolutely on other streams where I want to get into the details of all of the other things that have led to where I am today. But today's stream is really about the 2 years that I really went in depth about when I lived in Israel. And the effect that those 2 years have had on my life. People ask me a lot, why Israel? Why'd you move to Israel? Why did you leave the States? There's a lot of different reasons. There's a lot of things that contribute to one's decision to want to do something like that. I know, no problem. But the main reason, like the thing that it always comes back to is those 2 years when I lived there in 1st and 2nd grade, which set the stage for me to have an understanding at a very early age that this place in the Middle East does exist. That there is a place, this place for the Jewish homeland, this place that, given all of the madness and moving parts and different sorts of energies and hectic environments, all the things that make up the state of Israel, given all of that chaos, this place still is, without question, the special place on earth. The special place on earth. It is the homeland. It's the place that all Jews face when they stand up and they pray. They always face towards Jerusalem. And only now today, and as I grew up, not just today, but as I grew up, I've learned to appreciate and recognize how those 2 years where my parents made the decision to take our family and put it into a very dangerous environment and then come back to the States and then say, wait a minute, 1 year wasn't enough, let's go do a second. To recognize that those 2 years absolutely shape-shifted me, molded me, allowed me to have perspective and experience that most 6-year-olds would walk away from if they were given the opportunity or choice. I personally am one of those who was very against the idea of coming. And those 2 years very much have sprouted me into not just who I am as a person, but gave me the foundation for the Zionist that I am today. And I also have to question even sometimes that I wonder if I would have the same appreciation, perspective, and desire to want to be here if it weren't for those 2 years that I spent. Which I think is why it's so special to me to even like get to tell this story, because Gingazarus with 6 shekels, super chat. Thank you, homie. We're ringing the bell, and we're gonna blow the shofar for you. Thank you, brother. Can we clap it up? I don't know how to say their name though. That's a tough one. Can we clap it up for the super chat? By the way, the sirens that you're hearing right now are just police cars going by. So don't be so. You hear 'em? So I just want to take a quick moment, by the way. I'm going to be opening up my Discord server quickly for anybody who wants to ask questions. And for those who are brand new, this link right here, if you press it, is going to take you to my Discord server. We have over 500 people. You can come in and ask me anything. It's an incredible community, awesome stuff going on. We have over 500 growing every single day with people from all over the world. Please be a part of this community. Please come in, ask, introduce yourself, get to know, familiarize yourself with the channels, the moderators, the length of and the depth of substance that you have. You have people everywhere, and it's a central spot for people to come together. And so, please press that link and join. Before I open up the Discord server, you know, the whole like, it's very easy for me to say that if I did not live in Israel in 1st and 2nd grade, maybe I wouldn't have had the appreciation that I do today for for Israel and wanting to live here. Part of me, however, still feels like, because I know that I'm meant to be here, I'm in Israel for a reason, and there is a very clear reason as to why I'm here. This is where I'm supposed to be. I am supposed to be in Israel. I'm not supposed to be anywhere else. Not just physically right now speaking to you, but I am supposed to be here. And I firmly believe that I still would have been able to discover what that means. I would have discovered it. Why do I know that? Because if I am meant to be here, which I know I am, God would have shown me in another way. And I'm not a big man of faith and religion, but I do believe that certain things happen for certain reasons. It is not a coincidence that I lived in Israel during those 2 years. It is not a coincidence that my mom and my dad chose to take us back after that 2nd year. It is not a coincidence that every single time I go to Jerusalem, I get fucking goosebumps. And when I go to the Western Wall, I'm literally looking at it because it's the same exact frame I had at 6 years old. It's not a coincidence that when I go there, I go back and visit the school, my 2 apartments, my neighborhood. I go to the same street. I go to the same place. I literally relive all of that. It's embedded in me. No one can take that away from me. And I would have discovered that any other way. And that, to me, is the most special thing. Because I get to sit here now in 2024, and I get to tell all of you about the 2 years that I had there and its effect on... I'm literally an Israeli citizen now. I've literally taken my life, packed and moved, and I've chosen to be here. No one forced me to be here. I made the choice to come here. This choice was shown in front of me. You know, I'm going to do a live stream about this, but when you go to the Western Wall, there's a tradition where you can take a pen and a paper and you can write notes or write a wish or write a thank you or anything really that comes to your heart. And you can put it on, you wrap it up, put it into a small ball, and then you can put it into the cracks inside of the wall of the Western Wall. And my first 2 or 3 years post-college, when I was doing some work that was taking me back and forth from Israel, every time I would write a note, and I have pictures of these notes, and I'm going to show these pictures when I talk about them next time I choose to do this on a live stream. I would write notes about what I want for my life, the things I want to accomplish, the things I want to do. Specifically, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Where do I want to work? I took pictures not only of the notes, I took pictures of the date. I wrote the date on the paper by pen. Every single one of these notes that I put into the wall, the following year, those things came true. All of them. It's the only time I've ever been able to say, and I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, I've never felt connected to God in a synagogue. I've never felt connected to God in a temple. I've never felt connected to God keeping kosher, making sure that I don't put cheese on my hamburger. I've never felt connected to God when I'm observing the Chanukah, the Chanukiah, and I'm lighting the candles, or I'm having matzah during Passover. I've never felt connected to God when I'm trying to not eat and I'm fasting during Yom Kippur. I've never felt connected to God when we celebrate any other holiday. And the time and times that I have felt most connected is in Jerusalem, at the Western Wall, writing those notes, sometimes not writing those notes. I've cried at the Western Wall before. I have literally shed tears walking up to the wall with tefillin wrapped around my arms, going up to the wall, looking at the wall 2, 3, 4 years later after writing those notes, saying to myself, I stood here 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago as a visitor, an outsider who actually did have 2 years of lived experience as a kid here. I forgot to mention, when we came here in 2001, I did not get citizenship. All my family, we were on visas, so I wasn't an actual citizen. But I'm sitting there then in 2018, 19, looking at this wall saying, I stood here 12 years ago. I did not understand where this was, what this meant, and how significant this place is. I am looking at one of the most important current standing, still strong structures that pertains to Jewish people on planet Earth. And this is it, and I'm touching it. And now I'm back. Not only am I back, I am back after putting my wishes and what I would want for me in my life to happen while I'm here. And I'm looking at the wall and I'm literally comprehending, and I'm saying to myself, looking at the pictures on my phone, I'm doing this. This isn't a pontification. This is, I'm actually here. I just got here. I just worked for Maccabi. I just got my passport. I'm now an Israeli citizen. I'll go through the pictures and the list that I have. And I'm looking up, and this is all I ever wanted, was to make Aliyah, to return home, to come back. And I lost it. Shout out to Andreo for a very generous super chat. We have to ring the bell for Andreo coming in. Can we please clap it up for Andreo? We have Grimstone. Hey, Grimstone, we have Grimstone saying, get a DNA test. Oh, bro, I'm going to. I'm as Jewish as they come. Talk all the crap that you want, bro. Come onto this page. You're helping my algorithm. We love it. This community loves people like you. We love it. You're helping me. Stay here. Do more. I am going to do a DNA test, and then I'm going to publish it, and I'm going to shove it in your face because you are an anti-Semite who won't accept the fact that people like here are going to stay and remain. You're upset about it. And I love the fact that you're upset about it. And I love the fact that I am consuming your mental real estate, that you've chosen to come on to a very intimate live stream just to try and tear me down, but you're not going to, bro. I'm in Israel. What are you going to do besides deny the fact that I am Jewish and Israeli? What are you going to do? You're going to sit there? You're going to sit there? Continue. I'm Jewish, my guy. I'm Jewish. I am going to do a DNA test. I'm going to fucking tag you. You know what? Let me screenshot you. Because I've been tagging everybody else on Instagram, calling them out for pure ignorance. Now you got me in my element. Everybody, can we all tag Grimstone? Can we all tag Grimstone and share a clapping emoji? The reason I want you all to share the clapping emoji is because I think we need a round of applause for them helping us. They are helping us. They are helping expose more and more and more and more of the ignorance. Please clap. Everybody clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Shawnee, Mork, everybody. By the way, shout out, I was on a rant right now. Shout out to Andreo for more super chats. Thank you so much. Carlo Cali, Chrome, Matt, clap it up. Hold on. Turbulence is going crazy. Turbulence is going crazy. What's this person's name again? What's this person's name? Fucking Grimstone. That's a shitty name. Why? You could have chosen anything. You chose Grimstone. How about you chose Chrome? Grim Chrome for the other Barack. It's the other Barack. How you feel, bro? How you feel? Raw with the facts, smooth with the sounds. You're getting, right now you're getting absolutely destroyed by another Jew in the crowd who is a incredibly talented music artist and engineer who is shooting you down with facts. With facts, bro. With facts. With facts. Bro, you said Jews are not indigenous to the land. The Canaanites are, and today they are Lebanese.
Discord and follow the Instagram. We a worldwide community. They try to divide, but we fortify with unity. Yeah, I'm really about this, so I joined the Patreon to put my money where my mouth is. Now you're ready to rock, cause I'm ready to go. One more time for the other Barack, then we'll get to the show. Claps in the chat for the other Barack.
I am gonna get a DNA test. Now, that's the last time I'm talking about you because you're a waste of time. But thank you for being here. So that wraps up essentially everything about those 2 years. And really, I'm telling you, I have these experiences when I go to the Western Wall sometimes, like the ones I just shared with you, because that to me is like, that's the pinnacle, that's the core, that's my element, that brings me back to my childhood. I didn't just live in Jerusalem. We lived close to the Western Wall. I spent Friday nights there, Shabbats there. I walked around. I mean, I've walked the actual outskirts of the old city. It is profound. It's profound. It's profound. So I'm going to say the following, and then I'm going to open up Discord. I'm transitioning to a brand new format of content and live streaming where the YouTube streams, this is the last time it's going to be fully just like this. The YouTube streams are going to be here. And instead of the full stream being done here on YouTube, we're going to do the first portion here. And I'm going to then continue the rest of the live stream and the conversation with the community that is growing on Patreon. Patreon is a place that I'm building out to be my inner circle. The people who are interested in having access to perks like exclusive content, bonus content, early access to videos, having suggestion boxes that I'm literally going to pull from for actual content that I'm going to put out onto my YouTube, personalized videos, monthly Q&As, weekly check-ins. There's a lot of really cool things coming out. And it's very affordable. It's starting as low as $5 a month. And essentially what's going to happen is when we're on these live streams, in order to stay in, you're going to have to be in the Patreon. So I'm linking right now my Patreon right here. We have currently, and also it's just the best way to be able to support me and my work. And I have found this model to be the one that is going to be the most successful. And it's really exciting because a lot of people have been asking for new things, more access and this and that. And this is going to be a really incredible way to do it. at just $5. You know, for somebody that might have now just super chat, you know, 16, 20 shekels, that's the equivalent of 1 month on Patreon. So, and you'll see, you even have the opportunity if you're of it. Good Lord, bro. Joe Rogan, who obviously that's not Joe Rogan, just wrote the eyes. And I literally thought for a second that was Joe Rogan. It's not Joe Rogan. Everyone relax. That's not Joe Rogan. Whoo! It's crazy because I literally yesterday finished the interview with Joe and Trump. I literally thought that was Joe Rogan. That's hilarious. That's actually hilarious. Can you imagine if fucking Joe just showed up on my live stream right now? So we currently have 75 total people, and 21 of those are currently paid members. It would be really cool to grow a community there that even post YouTube live stream was still a place that we had a lot of different conversations going on at the same time. So it's going to transition from YouTube to Discord. And inside of Discord, once you join the Patreon, you have access to the private Discord text and private Discord voice channels. Okay? So that's that. I'm going to be pushing Patreon as much as possible during my live streams. I'm going to be pushing it on Discord. I'm going to be pushing it on YouTube. And so starting next live stream, we are beginning where the format is here, and the topics are gonna vary. Some of them are gonna be more about me and stuff that people wanna know, and some of them are also definitely gonna be pertaining to Israel and the conflict, because let's not forget that that's really why this journey started. And I just do want to make sure that also we're not only focusing on Israel-Palestine, because there's a lot more happening in the world. There's a lot more about me. There's a lot more substance and story and stuff I want to be able to give all of you. And even more, if you're in Patreon, you're going to get exclusive access to things that I'm not sharing across other platforms. So I'm really excited for that. With that being said, let's open up Discord. If anybody has any questions, I covered some really interesting stuff today. I'm going to link it right now in the YouTube. We have some people on here who are not in my Discord. Press this link right here. Press it. Open it. Pop it in. You're going to come into Discord. It is completely free. Welcome. Open up. Go to the left side. Press live streams. Press live calls. You're going to see a stage. Open it up. If you're in the stage and you want to speak, raise your hand. Who's talking to me like that? Junie, where have you been? You're calling you up. Hello? Yes.
Hey, so sorry. I was muting your stream on YouTube.
That's fine. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I missed you. How you doing?
I'm good. I was in a play, and so I had
Oh, wow.
full-time work and then rehearsals every night, and then
Mazal tov.
we closed on Saturday, so now I finally have a little free time. So.
How did the play go?
It went really well. Yeah, like about 300 people showed up every night. So
That's sick.
Fun.
That's amazing. I didn't know you were somebody that's on stage. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's really funny because for a long time I didn't give myself the opportunity to pursue my goals.
Yeah.
And but just in the past couple of years, and especially since October 7th, honestly, it's now like I'm just giving myself the opportunity, and so yeah, I've been getting some local stuff, and and I'm working on writing my own stuff, and yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I'm glad it went well.
Yeah, it was really great. It was like a kids show, but it was so much fun. It was like Halloweeny, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Mm.
so it was really cool.
What did you think of the format of today's stream?
Really nice. I loved hearing your story, because I feel like I have kind of a parallel story. I moved to Mexico when I was 9. I'm American, but my parents got divorced and my mom got a job in Mexico, so we went. And
Wow.
I grew up at a very interesting time in Mexico, where a lot of things were happening, like politically, sociopolitically, especially. And I traveled extensively through Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, all of that. And like when I was in Honduras and El Salvador, they had like just finished a war with each other. There were literally bridges being built in front of us. Like they were still like really reconstructing and everything. So when I moved to the States, it was really funny, because I felt like, oh, this is going to sound so wrong, but I felt like everyone was so soft.
Wow, I can't believe I forgot to talk about that. That's so accurate.
Yeah, and
so accurate, yo.
Yeah. And like, I hate to say it, because I mean, I'm American. I'm proud to be American.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Same.
But like, just culturally so soft, and it's like, man, toughen up. Like, there's actual real shit going on in the world. You know, I don't know.
No,
That's just.
I'm first of all, I didn't know that. 1 second. I didn't know that you had that experience at 9 years old moving to Mexico. I'm gonna tell you that is one of the things that stood out the most to me. Not in 3rd grade when I went back to the States, but when I like grew up a little bit, I was like, why the fuck are these people complaining that their food isn't warm enough, or that the shirt on their body isn't the right size, or that their mom didn't buy them the car that they wanted to? You know, like, people here are like, and then when they get hit in the face with adversity, they fucking have no idea what to do besides call mom and dad and have them take care of everything for them, or that they've been handed mom and dad's credit card their whole life. I mean, I'm going to talk about this. I have so many different things I'm going to unpack, but my experience when I was at prep school, the amount of things that I witnessed was beyond eye-opening from the cultural perspective of what Americans choose to appreciate and also not appreciate growing up. And it's really sad when you have the experience of seeing something else on the other side of the world, or in your case, on a neighboring country, to see how other people live their life and what they appreciate about life.
100%. Like, when I first moved to Mexico, I'm like you, I didn't speak Spanish when I first got there. And I went to an all Spanish speaking school, so I had to learn really fast. And one of the students agreed to tutor me. And the first time I went to her house, her whole family, that was her parents and her 3 siblings and her, lived in a 1-bedroom house with dirt floors. She was the smartest person, one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, especially like mathematically, like genius level. And her family was so about like education. She was going to be the first one to go to college, you know, and it's just like, you know, and this family, by the way, would give you the shirt off their backs, you know. Like, the first time I went there, I didn't want to eat, because I realized that they were like really, really poor, even poorer than I was growing up with a single mom. I mean, they were literally dirt poor, and I didn't want to eat. And then I realized that they got offended, and so I was like, okay. And so every time I'd go, they loved serving me just a simple bowl of rice and beans, but it was just like, I don't know. So yeah, when I came back to so I've realized that a lot of Americans are very soft. I also realize a lot of Americans lack kind of a passion for life, and it's been hard to fit in ever since. And I feel like Israel is where I need to be as well, but it's gonna take me a couple of years to get there.
I want to pull something up right now. I always like to bring this up, and it's very, very connected to something you just mentioned. They have, I just want to make sure I have the right source and also the updated version. So they have the World Happiness Report, which essentially looks at statistics measuring levels of happiness within societies. They look at age, they look at socioeconomic status, employment opportunities, they look at depression, anxiety rates, diagnoses, they look at health, they look at divorce rates. There's so many different factors that they calculate for them to basically come up with the countries that they deem as how the highest ranking levels of like happiness are. And according to Happiness Report, which is a 158 page PDF, which I'm going to link right now in the stream, from so this is just last year, okay? Every single year, Finland is ranked first. Shout out to Sushila. Finland is ranked first. According to this, Denmark is second, Iceland is third, Sweden is fourth, and ranked fifth as the world's happiest countries in 2023. Let me remind everyone, 2023, the year of October 7th, the year of the greatest massacre against a civilian nation in one day ever, the hardest hit inside of the state of Israel ever. Still, Israel ranked number 5 in the world as the world's 5th happiest country. And
Well, hi.
that is just profound to me. It's really truly unbelievable when you think about there's no other nation in the world that would be going through all of that shit and still find a way to be ranked according to all of the different things. So I'm bringing all this up because what you're saying now about Americans, I feel is very true. I feel like a lot of Americans are looking at materialistically driven things in life, like money and clothes and cars and jewelry and status quo. And I think that my experience, and by the way, there's many Israelis who have that too, right? It's not everybody, but that's a minority. I think the majority here look at life very different, and that's just not my opinion. We also have surveys and statistics to back that up. So I think that they're also looking at like quality of life, the things that make them happy, the people that they're around, their family, their health, being able to travel, see the world, being able to spend time with people that they love, cherishing the small things in life, not the Range Rover. And as somebody who grew up in the States and also had ample opportunity to be around like ridiculously high levels of wealth, I fully agree with you. And I think only then Americans that actually get the experience to live outside of America, that's the only time that they recognize it. 'Cause otherwise, they're just clouded by it because of their environment. That's how I see it. I don't know if you agree.
100%. And that's kind of it goes back to, would you appreciate Israel as much if you hadn't lived there for 2 years and had a traumatic experience, because that's traumatic, right?
Yeah.
Having to put on gas masks and stuff, like that's but I think part of the reason I love Israel is because what Mexico taught me a lot was about ethnicity, for example. Like, you have someone in your chat who keeps on bringing up the race card, and like, being Jewish has nothing to do with that. It's an ethnicity. And in Mexico, I learned a lot about what that actually means.
Wow.
You know,
that's powerful.
And so it is part of the reason why I appreciate Israel. And plus, I have family in Israel. You know, so so that's very important to me. But like, growing up in Mexico, there's a very large Lebanese population. The Lebanese people that I knew were very pro-Israel because they understood, because there were Maronite Christians that had to flee, you know?
They get it.
And yeah, but even though they were of Lebanese ancestry, they were also Mexican, because they, you know, a couple of generations have been born in Mexico. And ethnicity has so much more to do with like culture and you know, your food, your music, you know, the way you pray, you know, all of that. And I think people get so muddled with the race thing, and which is also a very American Western thing, you know.
A lot of people don't realize, like, they always say like, what, you know, you're Jewish, like you're they don't understand the difference between the race and the ethnicity aspect of what being Jewish is. Like,
right,
I'm Caucasian, I'm white, right? That's like, I'm not the ethnicity is being a Jew. The religion is Judaism, right? They think of like, my race is
correct.
Jew. My race is not Jew. There's no such thing.
Right.
You know, I'm not a Jew race. That's not a thing. So but
No.
like, it's like, no, it's literally like, it's like comedic. It's like comedic that, like, if we can't even establish that as common ground, we're so fucked. You know, like,
right.
yeah.
And it's also, it's just, it's so like also, you know, I'm Caucasian as well. I would have really preferred if our ancestors hadn't been driven out of Israel to begin with, you know. But so yeah, I might have some white in me. So like, I'm still really Jewish. So
It's a fact. It's a fact.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, I yeah, and I wish people weren't so hung up on the race aspect.
That's all right.
You know?
When they get emotionally regulated, I'll take these people down one by one.
Definitely.
So,
well, dude, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for listening. I'm glad you. That's awesome. I'm glad. I mean, this is the feedback I was hoping for, and I'm looking forward to more of it. More of the storytelling, and more of being able to give people a little bit more insight as to who I am.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna take the next caller.
See you later.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, if you are raising your hand, which we have only 2 people inside of the audience raising their hand, I see you too. But we do have 8 people inside of the audience. So if you do want to say something, then please raise your hand. Hello.
Hey there, how are you doing, Barak?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I just loved listening to you talking about growing up. And I think it would be wonderful if you actually did a video, maybe where you kind of went down memory lane and recorded all of those places. I think that would be very special. Maybe something for you to think about.
I'm going to write that down right now. That is not the first time I have thought about that, but I have not executed. And I think it's, you know, even for me too, would be very, very powerful, because I have not been to Jerusalem in quite a long time. In fact, sometimes Jerusalem during the flare-ups, I've chosen actually to stay away from. But I think it's a very, very, very good idea.
Glad you like it. I relate to the not understanding Western people because I grew up completely differently to anyone I know. And when I finally got to school, I honestly thought I'd landed in an asylum. I thought I didn't know why my parents had put me in a place with these people I thought were totally backward. So I came from quite an unusual background where I didn't go to school until I was nearly 7, and then straight to grade 2. And I just didn't relate to these people at all. They didn't relate to me. Barack, I wanted to ask you, do you feel like the level of anti-Semitism and so on, do you think is coming down, or are some groups getting worse?
I'm glad you asked me that, because before I came back to Israel from my trip in the States, I said on one of my live streams and one of my posts something that got a lot of disagreement, which is that I said, as we head into this new school year, you know, the next college year for university students in America, we're approaching the end of August, et cetera, et cetera. I said, I don't think it's going to be worse. I actually think it's going to simmer down. And unless I'm mistaken, it's not that these protests are not happening. It's not that the Jewish students are not experiencing unsafe environments, and it's definitely not that they suddenly feel back to normal. But analytically, we can look at the number of protests that happened on a week-to-week basis towards the end of last school year compared to the first month and a half to 2 months, almost first quarter, almost end of approaching, you know, sort of the middle of the first semester of students this year. It's not the same level. Just because we don't see it in the media does not mean it's not happening. There are a lot of media outlets that have an agenda to mask and not be as transparent about certain things. But when I get feedback from students or Jews all over the world on my platform, I see a pattern of it not happening as much anymore. And maybe that's because people are tired of saying it, or I just think they're experiencing it in different ways. Last year, it was all over the news that we felt like these students were creating blockades for kids not to be able to walk across the quad, or it was threatening to burn down their door, or it was threatening to throw rocks into their hillel or their synagogue. I'm not seeing and hearing as much of that, and I'm also not receiving as many inquiries from people who say, I don't know what to do, can you help me? But I'll tell you one thing. I think the result of what a lot of Jews went through last year, a lot of the fear has led to forced silence. And so I actually think me not receiving a lot of these inquiries leads me to believe that many of them are too scared to say something because they are in such a vulnerable state that they've chosen the best route. Maybe is to keep my mouth shut. Maybe it's to tuck in my Magen David. Maybe it's just not even to expose anything. I think that's worse. But on a level of the day-to-day antagonization on campus stuff, I think it's happening on a smaller scale. I also want to say, and I think you're going to agree with me here, given what I know about you, I think the attention is absolutely solely focused on the US elections coming up very soon. And so anything to disrupt that process for either one of those parties to take the lead or win or what have you, there is absolutely no way the government or any media outlet would try and disrupt that agenda. And so if they were to show the college encampment protesters, and if they were to show the dorm rooms being violated, and if they were to show the swastikas, it would create more of a sense of urgency and pressure on these parties to address that situation. And I don't think that America cares enough about that situation to want to address it. So unfortunately, I think me sitting here in Israel, I'm not going to be shown a lot of the stuff that probably is happening. So maybe I'm also ignorant. Maybe I also don't know. That's just my take from like a high level viewpoint. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you know more than I do. Unfortunately, the media has programmed us to feel and think a certain way, and I'm absolutely a byproduct of that sometimes.
Yeah, I think we all are. I wanted to actually run something by you, and I don't know if this is something you would be interested in. You know, I'm very analytical, and so what I do with the news reports and so on is I go and I cross-reference what Al Jazeera says, what this person says, what that person says, the various channels, right?
Mm.
Am I still on there? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are people who have got very big followings, and nobody is addressing the fact that they are lying their faces off. Like, from the first word to the last word is a lie, and it goes unchallenged because probably because you wouldn't have come across them, and you don't realize they're out there, but they are very influential and they are very big drivers of anti-Semitism. Would you ever consider like taking on one of these channels and kind of what you did with Mossab, where you, what's that Omar guy? It was so brilliant for how you sort of ripped them to pieces. So if you had to take one of these shows, I'm thinking like a Max Blumenthal or something like that, you could seriously perhaps slice away at a lot of their followers would be left with, he doesn't look so shiny and perfect anymore after I heard all of that. Because they are getting no clap back whatsoever. They just live in this bubble of their own. And the anti-Semitism is like you can cut it with a knife. It's unbelievable how things like how October 7th, I kid you not, how the IDF shot their own people. You know, there's always a chance of friendly fire, somebody getting killed. But their whole thing is, no. This was set up, and the IDF shot their own people. And it wasn't Hamas at all, kind of thing. I don't know how these channels stay up, and I don't know how no one ever challenges. I would challenge them, but I'm a little bit too small fry. They can. I have had my Patreon and so on pulled before by, you know, they will mass flag you and so on. But yeah, that's something for you to think about.
Yeah. Listen, first of all, yes. Absolutely. And look, I think the reason why you said I don't even know why they get away with it. I think the reason that they get so much support and the people listen and the people like it is they're regurgitating a lot of the rhetoric that has been used the past 13 months that supports the idea that Israel is the enemy. And a lot of people are very quick and easy to hopping on that boat. Like, it's super easy if you're in the middle to just say, wait a minute, honestly, like, this kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm seeing all these videos, like, all of these people just sent me this one video of this kid burning. Wow, you know what? This is really happening. It's so much easier. And also, here's the other thing, and I think a lot of people dismiss this and forget it. Israel today still, I think because partly of the families and the IDF, have not officially released to the public the body cam footage of Hamas. It's still not available. Hamas has certain footage that is available on the internet that you can see, but let me tell you, as somebody who spoke to someone else just last week in person, he saw a 55-minute unedited film, which was raw Hamas body cam footage of the morning of October 7th, and I don't even really want to say out loud some of the things that he said that he saw. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think
Yeah, I saw some of that footage myself. It's unspeakable.
it's
unspeakable.
it's
That's why I am so
yeah,
passionate about, fighting against it. Is unspeakable.
it's unspeakable. And I'll tell you the reason that a lot of these channels have the following, the support, the traction, the engagement, the loud voice is because they have taken the decision to distribute the unspeakable footage on their end. And this is why they win the propaganda war. They have the most powerful tool, which is live, direct, new, and updated every second, every minute, every hour footage.
Okay.
Coming, say, what'd you say?
No, the connection dropped for a moment. I've got you back now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just saying this is one of the main reasons why they win the online propaganda war, is because they get to basically at their disposal have a returned funnel of minute, hourly, weekly footage of tragic, unspeakable stuff coming out of the Gaza Strip, coming out of Beirut, and they get to just basically at their disposal send this to Telegram, to Instagram, to YouTube. It doesn't get taken down. X doesn't take it down, and still to this day, on October 30th, Israel still has not released the equivalent of what the unspeakable is, and that's the beast that I have to go against. And you know what's crazy is when I say I say to somebody, women got raped on October 7th. You know what a lot of them say? No, they didn't. And I say, they did. There's testimonies, there's proof. And you know what the next thing that they say is? Show me the proof. And unless Israel chooses to release this footage, I can't show any other proof aside from Amit Susna, who came out and spoke, aside from Agam, who came out and spoke, aside from Miashem, who came out and spoke. But they're gonna say, oh, Israel's paying them to lie. So the footage is the missing link as to why someone like me has to go up against an unbeatable propaganda war, because they can always pull the card. Show me. You say women got raped? Show me. Well, you know, my friend that I spoke to last week, the first question I asked him was, did you see footage of any women getting raped on that 55-minute film? And he looked at me and he nodded his head. He couldn't even speak. And it made me nauseous. I got chills in my body. He said, I saw. I you know what? I can't say it. I can't say it. I can't. I can't say it. So
I get it. I have a pretty good idea of the genre of what he was referring to. It's the most sadistic, twisted, depraved, sick, cruel, vicious massacre in history, because not anywhere in history did people actually torture people and live stream it to their families. You know, this is an element which it is absolutely beyond. Regarding why they are so popular and so on, I want to. Do you know about companies like CrowdStrike?
Yeah.
And so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the censorship, they come and they shut down sort of any pro-Israeli voices. And not them specifically, maybe not CrowdStrike specifically, but CrowdStrike is one of a number of sort of, Caroline Glick calls them mercenary censorship squads, because anything you say that they get it shut down. And the other thing is, I think a lot of those that have got the slick editing and everything, I think they're getting money from Qatar. I really do.
Yeah.
I was kind of approached. And I said no. So, you know, that if you're getting $5,000 a month and the odd trip to Doha and whatever, and you have a lot of support, and then you have the top editing software and so on, I'm just going to say that you're going to do a lot better on the rankings than somebody who, you know, is coming in with very little.
Correct. You know, the other thing that the pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah apologist machine, they're brilliant, and I'm going to tell you why. They understand the mechanism of supply and demand. And the more that they supply, like, and I'm talking about insane amounts of supply. X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, like every second, hundreds of thousands of people sending, forwarding, sharing, responding, commenting. Like, it has become a monster that you cannot take down. And there are incentives for people. There are incentives for people to not allow this monster to ever shut off. And the incentives absolutely involve financial gain. There are a lot of people making a lot of money that are helping this monster continue to stay alive. Absolutely. And this monster starts all the way from content creators on TikTok or on, you know, Telegram or on platforms like mine, all the way up to CrowdStrike, where they have such large influence and control. And of course, the only way to intrinsically motivate somebody, unless they're really on board with something, is offering them financial incentive. We all know that. And the amount of money that's on the table, for a lot of these purple-haired kafia Karens at Columbia or NYU, for them to get the payments from these groups to go buy the stuff, to set up a tent, to make sure that their lunch is covered, to make sure that they're not gonna, you know, all this shit. Cool, I'll do it. Oh, and you want to pay me $50 every single time that I put up a post? Sure. You know? And this is like large scale operations, and that is why everyone wants to talk about people being ignorant. Everyone wants to talk about people being uneducated. No, forget the uneducation and forget the ignorance. It is supply and demand. They understand that there is more demand the more that they supply, and that supply will never run out. I mean, look at all of the up and coming brilliant 13-year-old and 14-year-old content creators in Gaza. How did the fuck did they get an iPhone 16 and how do they have 75,000 followers? You know? Where did this come from? Because all of their followers are Kathy and Karen at NYU and Yale. And then Kathy and Karen show, you know, young little Ahmad, who's 13, who's taking Snapchat videos of his alleged little sister's cousin with, you know, an arm that's blown off, or even the act of an arm that's blown off, because we've seen both. And it doesn't matter. Supply and demand. Supply and demand. Supply and demand. And they're torching us. They are torching us at this game. Torching. It's not even close. That's why I think we have to think way. Yeah, go ahead.
That's why we have to kind of think outside the box. Okay, so here, this is an offer, and with no expectations or anything like that. If you ever want to go after one of the channels like The Grey Zone or Ava Bartlett or Jimmy Dore or anything like that, I will personally take apart one episode of their show. I will research it to an inch of its life. I will list down everything that they say wrong, and I will hand it to you so that you can do what you did with the video on Masab, and that's what's his name, Omar something.
Omar Badar. He's fucking dumb.
Yeah. That dimwit, yeah, you just totally, you completely demolished him. But that's an open card offer anytime. You let me know.
Well,
I will do it with the greatest of pleasure, because I would love to see somebody like Max Blumenthal getting taken down for once.
Yeah. You know, keep in mind, by the way, as you're speaking, I'm also looking at, I apologize because I see that there are a few emails that you had sent that I never responded to, and I hope you know that that's never ever
They probably outtake, don't stress.
No, no, but I want you to know. I want you to know that it's never like my intention to miss, and sometimes I don't get to everything. But
I know.
I think one thing to keep in mind is like, if I were to take one of them down, which I'm happy to, I want it to be something that like, look, there are thousands of Omars out there, thousands, tens of thousands of Omars out there, and I can't get all of them, and it would be a waste of time to try and get all of them. I think the ones that matter the most are actually the ones that have the most influence, because those are the ones that have the largest and strongest voice. You know, going to the starting bottom up, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. I would say starting top down. That's why I've trying to take people down, like Sank, like Omar, like Abby Martin, like that girl who was on Dr. Phil. You know,
Abby Martin. Exactly, Abby Martin. Okay, so the Max Blumenthal is like just one rung beneath Abby Martin.
Sure.
He's just so he's up there, not top of the top, but just below. But causes immense damage.
Yeah.
Immense damage.
Okay.
And also even somebody like what's his name, Finkelstein. And I think it requires a Jewish voice to turn around and say to this, start pulling this guy's arguments apart.
Finkelstein, Jesus.
Because no, don't. I was watching Absolute Disbelief. A friend of mine who's actually a professor, Ivy League professor, Jewish, Ukrainian, just like every war, it collided in him, was making a comment, and every single person that came to basically SH1T on his post was basically quoting Finkelstein, one after the other. It was absolutely unbelievable. And nobody ever really takes him down. Nobody ever sits and goes like, here is this idiot. Okay, let us go through what he's actually saying. Is it true? Does it stack up? I know it's not true. I know it doesn't stack up. I don't have the kind of a platform where I could address it myself, or I would.
Yeah.
I just don't have enough backup. But if you ever want to go that route, I'm very good at research and analysis.
Yeah,
Consider me at your disposal.
I'm in. I wrote down two things that came to mind when you spoke, so I'm in. Obviously, from a production standpoint, I would need to see if it makes sense, like the type of because my whole thing is when I see something, I have to evaluate: A, does this make sense for what I'm doing, what I want to do, and B, is there a unique angle? And the whole thing about trying to really violate someone and do it in like a good way, where like you said a few minutes ago, where I like annihilated Omar, I have to always find the right angle, because you can always pull up a video or an article or this and that, but it's about trying not to say the same thing that all of the other people who agree with you are saying. It's about trying to find so that's where I think
a unique.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about trying to find. I'll just give you one quick example that I use. I don't know if you've heard of Eva Corrine Bartlett.
I have not.
She's kind of a couple of rungs below the grey zone kind of thing, but also very influential in alternative geopolitics circles. And so I posted on her stuff one day. I said, there's one thing that baffles me, Eva, and that's why you never mentioned. Why did you never mention the 5-star resorts in Gaza? Like, you lived there and you spent all this time there, and I followed your work for so many years, and you never once mentioned the 5-star resorts. How did that happen? How did that slip, out of thing? A bunch of her followers kind of mob swarmed me, and then she just legged it. She deleted me and she ran. So and not only that, but then one or two of her followers followed me and came and asked me and said, what do you mean about the 5-star resorts? There's no 5-star resorts in Gaza. And at that point, I pulled out a couple of images from my photo collection, and they were, oh my God, I had no idea.
Of course they didn't.
And so Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So they present it as just these poor people living on the street, but they didn't say about everything else. So I don't believe in going just for a character assassination. I believe in taking down arguments and also bringing in a novel value proposition where you're saying, okay, but you've said all this, but you haven't said this. Why did you not say this? But yeah, and at that point, their own followers, I have now seen it myself on a micro level, their own followers start going, whoa, what do you mean? Whoa, yeah. So something along those lines.
Yeah, that's
I
all.
don't want to keep you too long because I love listening to the other people.
Yeah. No, all I was gonna say was that's why I made the video titled "The Gaza You Don't See," and I literally pulled footage out of there showing marble penthouses. Like,
Oh, I must look for that.
oh, you
I
haven't?
must go and look for that and share it. I will put it all my groups.
You haven't seen it?
No, if I know, I will immediately go
Oh,
and grab it.
hold on.
I will look for it.
Let me send it. This is one of my
It's
favorite.
going everywhere.
It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. Hold on one second. I made a part 2.
Oh man!
Oh yeah.
You can,
I made this. I put this out.
there will be.
Look at this. And this was when I was like still in my angry phase. Like, this is good. This was 8 months ago. Here, do you see the YouTube live stream?
I've got it now. The thing on, yeah.
Okay, so here's
Might be a little.
the Gaza you don't see. So for everyone watching, this is a video I made 8 months ago, right here. It's called The Gaza You Don't See. And I took footage coming out of the Gaza Strip. You can even see, tell me, Aura, do you see the thumbnail?
It's not coming a bit. I think there's a slight delay on my side, probably a minute or so.
Hold on. I just wanna.
I mean,
I want you to see. I want you to see this. Here, look in Discord.
okay, yeah, no, oh no, it's way behind. It's way behind.
Look at the Discord chat
I just want to.
between you and I.
Okay. Let me look there. Sorry. Because that is something I will share the hell out of. Okay, got it.
You.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is fantastic. Oh, you got a brand new distribution. This one is gonna get distributed everywhere. By the way, please, I know you're not on LinkedIn a lot. If you do pop in, please just add me as a connection.
Okay.
Because I can put your work out to so many people over there.
Yeah, let's do it right now. Hold on, don't leave. Let's do it right now. 1 second. Send me your link.
I already sent you a request.
Okay.
I requested you a while ago.
Let me see. It's buried in requests. Hold on.
Okay.
I've only gotten more into LinkedIn the past year. Let me see if I can find it. I'll take a look at it after. I'm gonna take the other callers. And
Sure.
And I will just, yeah, here, I'll put a note down real quick before I put you back to the audience. Add or on LinkedIn. Okay, cool.
Okay, cheers. You have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Good to talk to you.
Looking forward to next
Yep.
weekend.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay, come on.
All right. We have time for maybe two. One, Lijar. This call is going to be shorter. Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, bro?
Nothing much. Just kind of caught the last bit of your conversation with the previous caller. And I just I might have an issue with maybe a couple the glazing over some points maybe. But when you're talking about the 5-star resorts and stuff and the marble penthouses, is that really the rule, or is that the exception when we're talking about Gaza's infrastructure and the humanitarian crisis that was going on before October 7th hit? It seems a little disingenuous to say, oh, there's 5-star resorts, they're not all poor in the streets, when it was in humanitarian crisis before this war broke out. And just secondly, talking about, the people being paid $50 per post or whatever, and go to this protest and put up a sign, as if like those people really do pull the influence when we talk about like the AIPAC donor class, which is billions of dollars. So it just seems kind of like a false equivalency. Obviously, misinformation gets spread either way from both sides, but it just seems like a little bit of a false equivalence, if you ask me.
Sure. So I'll address the first thing. The first thing is you talk about a humanitarian crisis that existed inside of the Gaza Strip prior to October 7th. And I don't disagree with you that there was a humanitarian crisis occurring in the Gaza Strip prior to October 7th. The question that is not asked and is instead just assumed based on distant context that most people are receiving, the question that's not asked is, why was there a humanitarian crisis to begin with inside of the Gaza Strip? And instead of me,
for sure.
Well, it's not just a for sure. This is important, because instead of me saying to you what I know to be true, or instead of the IDF doing it, I've leaned way further into lots of Palestinians inside of Gaza the past year coming out themselves in Arabic, translated to Hebrew, talking about their crisis that you're referring to, which I'm very aware about, as a result of oppression by Hamas. And so when we look at the false equivalency that you're implying, I'm not denying that there was a humanitarian crisis. The problem that I have with the thing about that being a false equivalency and then sort of flipping the script and saying, well, Israel's if you listen to the people who live inside of that territory who have decided to speak up and speak out, then you then have substance coming from that place of those telling you exactly why there is a humanitarian crisis. If you want to talk about the intricacies of humanitarian aid, I'm all game, and we can talk about that for the next 20 minutes if you want, because there's a very interesting phenomenon that most people don't understand about the humanitarian aid and lack thereof going to the people that it needs to go to. So the other thing is the whole idea of there being literal 5-star hotels, literal penthouses. I mean, I can show you the footage, is the point. Because how is it that when we talk about the Gaza Strip, it is an open-air prison, it is a apartheid state, it is rubbish and rubble, and it is a territory of destroy, and yet you have its military leaders who were there at one point, who were inside of penthouses with pools, with Mercedes-Benz, and then you have citizens taking pictures of the flea market outside of a seven-floor apartment building in front of the ocean watching the sunset. So that cannot get ignored when we are talking about the substance within the Gaza Strip. And to act like that wasn't there before, and also to act like it's not there now, that would be disingenuous. And at the end of the day, the money that has been given to the governing body of the Gaza Strip has been used not for the benefit of its people, it has been used for the benefit of the governing body. And that has been easily shown on a incredible amount of levels, from not just the tunnel network or the military infrastructure, things that I'm sure I can already tell by the tone of your voice that like you know these things, so it's not like new information to you. Do I think that there's a humanitarian crisis from the perspective of those innocent free Palestinians having no choice and freedom at having a life outside? Yes. Do I think that the fact that Israel and its borders by definition prevent those people from having that access? Yes. Would I make the argument though that those borders, for the sake of the safety and security of the people, not just on the southern border of Israel, but in Israel in general, that those borders and safety precautions need to be put in place in order for Israel to have some sense of security? Yes. So it's not so binary when you look at it just like there was a humanitarian crisis before the 7th. Yeah, before the 7th, there were also lots of rockets being fired into Israel. And before the 7th, there were also lots of people coming in from the West Bank into Israel, going into Jerusalem, going into Beit Shemesh, going into Tel Aviv. Down the street from where I'm sitting talking to you right now, there were 2 terrorist attacks back-to-back years on a Thursday at 9 p.m. on Dizengoff. So there's so much context when that rhetoric comes up, and I understand where it comes from, but it's not as simple as just boiling it down to, okay, but what about the humanitarian crisis? And yeah, okay, oh, but if there was just a humanitarian crisis, then how does that justify certain people within the Gaza Strip living on floor 11 of a penthouse inside of what the whole world is calling an open-air prison and an apartheid state? Those two don't add up. The two really don't add up. And the other thing is about the people who are getting paid, okay? And you talk about influence. I would make the argument, I mean, I just don't agree with you. Just because somebody has 50 followers on Instagram or 500,000 followers on Instagram, here's how it works. The 13 or 14 or 17-year-old in Kentucky who a year and a half ago had 237 followers on TikTok, who came across some content on someone's account, who also probably had a relatively small account, about Israel-Palestine. He goes in October 8th, October 9th, October 10th, and he's not only seeing it from him and her, he's starting to see it from all of the people around him, and now it's suddenly being fed into this person's algorithm because TikTok, for example, has an agenda to favor pro-Palestinian content. And if you don't agree with me, I can talk to you about how I know that. But for the sake of the conversation, just say that you agree with me. So this kid now has basically a bias being fed to him in his system every day. He's starting to see more tragic stuff. Very, very biased. He starts to post about it too. And then his friend who follows him was that kid a week ago, who was first a bystander not saying anything, but then started doing research and started posting too. And now you have this trickle effect of micro influencers, micro people starting to post a lot of the same content, which is very similar to the pages that are maybe a little bit larger. But then what people want is reassurance that what they're posting is what everyone else is saying and believes. And they become an incredibly massive, powerful cult. They follow each other. They start to grow a crowd. That 239 followers turns into 2,000. The 2,000 turns into 7. Suddenly, one of the large creators noticed one of these 7,000 accounts, posts them to the story, and says, "Thank you so much for speaking up." And they know that when that little kid who has 7,000 sees the kid or the guy with 334,000 post them, and they say, "Thanks for posting," what a dopamine boost that is for that person to have the confidence to now keep going. They want more recognition. Then suddenly that story that got posted for them got them another 7,000 followers, so now they doubled. And this is just one person. And this goes for so many people, not just TikTok, not just YouTube, not just Instagram. So the reason I disagree with what you said is because I in fact think that every person that does choose to post something that they haven't done maybe a lot of research about or done the due diligence to see what is the context about this thing, instead is absolutely just as much of a part of the problem and contributing and lighting this fire even more. It is giving more incentive for other people to speak up. Maybe their neighbor who follows them hasn't said a word, but they've been following this person because they didn't know a lot, but now they see, wait a minute, both my neighbor, my classmate, and my cousin are all posting the same thing, and wow, it's all from that same influencer that reposted my cousin. They must be right. Maybe I'm gonna say something too. And now you go to these people's pages, scroll way past October 7th, see what they were posting in August, see what they were posting in 2021. Some of them were posting flowers. Some of them were posting travel pictures in the Bahamas. Some of them liked peanut butter. Suddenly they turned into activists. They turned into quote unquote activists because they've gained traction and a following and encouragement by others to keep doing more. And that to me is a massive, massive lethal weapon that I myself can't fight alone. I can't fight an algorithm. I can't fight the trust and safety unit within TikTok, which is a group within the entire company whose job it is to literally choose the feed and the content that you see when you scroll. They are literally manipulating the actual things that come up onto your feed. And they had access into an internal server inside of TikTok of the trust and safety unit where they were literally just sending pro-Palestinian content to one another. An Israeli left, came to Israel and exposed this. So the social media game of utilizing little satellite offices across the world, all the way from 5 followers to 500,000, is absolutely an incredible influence on just the one person who sees it, who gets motivated enough to go do it themselves, and it is a trickle effect. They are breeding people. Every single day they are breeding people to spread more, like you said in the beginning, propaganda, misinformation. By the way, all the Israelis, the super far radical Israelis that post every Palestinian's a terrorist, or they say all of the Gazans should die, or they go onto Omi TV and they see a pro-Palestinian protester and they spit on the camera and they say, fuck you and your family, all of them are as bad. They are all cancer, and I condemn every single one of them. And I'm saying that live, I'm saying that recorded, and I want people to know that I stand by that because they then rely on me to pick up after their shit. So that propaganda, that rhetoric, why does that suck? Because then the pro-Palestinian records the screen, saves it, and then puts it out to their community and says, look at these Israelis, this is what they're about. So every time I encounter something about the influence of social media, the content, it is the most lethal thing. It's the most dangerous thing because it's the first time in the world that 11, 12, and 13-year-olds literally have access to war on their phone. They are seeing war unfold live. They've never had access to this before, and it absolutely stirs up an emotional reaction that then triggers them to want to do something too. That's the whole point. And that is extremely dangerous, massively dangerous, when a 13-year-old can pick up a TikTok account and literally look at what's going on. And what is going on is awful. It's really bad. I'm not saying it's not bad, but that's how I see, and I'm in the social media propaganda war space. So this is why I'm really like honing in on this, because I've been in this space for 10 months where I've really been able to like nail it down to what I just did, because that's essentially the fight that I'm trying to go against, which sadly many of the days that I do this feels very much unbeatable, because it doesn't matter how much truth and empathy and humility that I try to deploy, I'm going up against an incredibly beautifully architectured machine of propaganda that will always mute me and my voice and the ones that are trying to say something and come from a different angle. I hope that sheds a little bit of light as to like why as somebody who is like in the advocacy space, from the social media war, how I see it, that like minute and detailed all the way to its core, from how like this is bred, because I've seen it happen. I've literally seen it happen from start day one to now. And it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. So I don't know if you have any response, but that's how I see the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're on the nose about the kind of the trickle-down effect that these things have, and the echo chamber phenomena we've come to see, especially in the past like 5-6 years, that it's really exacerbated to a point where misinformation. What do you trust? What's propaganda? What's not? And you're right, having access, and it's precisely why we see the amount of advocacy for these issues is because it's the most well-documented war we've probably seen in a long time, where we can pull up videos at any time of buildings being destroyed or families being torn apart. So it's, when people see that, and then, if they take to the internet, I don't necessarily blame them for having an overt reaction to seeing, horrific shit in front of them. But, everyone has the responsibility to be, to try and be genuine in what they put forth and what information. Sadly, we don't live in that society right now. It's all about the money grab. It's all about the attention. How quick can we grab someone's 6 seconds of their day and help kind of spin their point of view. And while it is dangerous, I admit, and especially rhetoric goes both ways, and it can be destructive. That being said, I still can't really find a comparison when we talk about this domino of political advocacy that breeds misinformation versus a military infrastructure and financial infrastructure that is billions of dollars solely going towards security purposes. And now Israel has the right to get to those security purposes, but it's still billions of dollars and influence and money that that probably has a more direct effect. In the next few years, maybe we'll see that all this kind of propaganda or all this posting really shifts people's viewpoints in the Middle East going forward. But right now, I don't know. It's much more cause and effect and much more direct when it comes to military aid going, money going, and the direct effect that people see. Oh, we spent $1 billion to Israel. Oh, half of Gaza is destroyed. Wow. It's people can make those. People will make those correlations, whether they're fully informed or not.
Sure.
And it's not like Israel has to work PR, but they're not very good at PR.
Agree.
That's all I gotta say.
Agree. Yeah, I mean, it's a very easy formula for people to calculate when they look at it like that. Oh, Gaza's destroyed. Oh, AIPAC. Oh, Israel. Boom. Period.
Yeah, and that's just the correlations people make. I'm not saying it's right to do that directly, but we're in a very trigger happy society, a very information now or very explosive headlines now, and it's kind of destroyed media integrity. But this is the state of where we're at, and so trying to influence people away from that is noble. It just might seem a little foolhardy. I don't know. Not that you shouldn't keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing, but it seems fruitless sometimes, and that's just me being pessimistic. I don't know.
It's very easy to be pessimistic given the circumstances of the conflict that lives inside of the Middle East. It's been a pessimistic ecosystem since I've been alive, and way before I was alive. I say this a lot, but I don't think one solves the Middle Eastern conflict. I think one does its best to attempt to manage it. And we have periods of management that are very difficult and periods of management that require a little bit less heavy lifting. Right now, we are in arguably one of the most complicated times of management. And there's just too many variables at play in parallel with one another that make it kind of fucking impossible to figure out where to start on both sides.
So just the last point, sorry to take up your time. Would this mismanagement, so say when talking about trying to manage relations in the Middle East,
Yeah.
is it more damaging to relations in the Middle East to have this, this pro-Palestine bloc that's grown exponentially on media? Is that more hindering to political relations or diplomatic relations, or is it the weapons and the money that gets sent directly to inflict damage? Is that more damaging?
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question, because I don't think I understood?
Sorry. Yeah. So you say there's no solving the Middle Eastern crisis, really.
Mm-hmm.
There's only managing it,
mm-hmm.
right? So is this Palestinian bloc that's arisen on social media, and it's gone huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that especially from the U.S., right? So is that more detrimental to peaceful management of the Middle East, or is it the billions of dollars of weapons that get sent? Is that more detrimental to the management of the Middle East?
Are you referring to billions of dollars that get sent to the state of Israel for security purposes?
Well, it's both. Man. It's Israel gets sent billions of dollars. Saudi Arabians got $70 billion weapons deal not too long ago.
Yeah.
So it's both. It's not just Israel.
Right. I'm saying the money that you're referring to, are you referring to money that has enabled the state of Israel to defend itself?
Well, it goes in, I'm sure some of that money is, if you want to argue every cent of that money is spent solely for security purposes.
No, that's not true. We know that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's part of it, the money that goes for Israel's security, but money at large that just gets funneled into the Middle East, primarily due to weapons, right? Like, what's more detrimental, just the social media outcry that's arisen, or the direct money weapons transfer?
Both.
Both? Okay, that's fine.
I don't.
You can hold that.
I don't think by not saying both, I'd be unfair to reality. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a fair position. I just, that you're allowed to think that, and good arguments can be made for both. And I'm not saying both don't factor into the situation. It's just one probably has a bit more weight than the other. Well, if you ask me.
I mean, I'll ask you this, okay? If Israel tomorrow no longer received funding from the United States to use part of that budget to build more Iron Dome, to build a stronger army, a stronger border, tomorrow that money, that wire stops. Please tell me what you think happens once the world discovers that there is no more funding to Israel. Tell me what you think is the response.
Just from a U.S. standpoint, or every country has unilaterally agreed, let's stop sending money to Israel? Is it just a U.S. thing, or is it a whole world thing?
The U.S. is Israel's largest ally, and U.S. says we want no more part in this, and it's a trickle-down effect. And even if we had other countries choosing to help, it still does not match the donor effect that we receive from the U.S. Okay, let me rephrase my question. If tomorrow Israel stopped receiving the necessary amount of funds in order to create a safe and secure border for itself, not just on a daily basis, but from a longevity standpoint, what happens to Israel?
Well, it would be a massive perceived weakness for them. I mean, they would be vulnerable, and I don't.
No, I'm talking about practical. Forget the vulnerability. Of course, they would be vulnerable. If the U.S. had its money robbed of them tomorrow, and they would no longer be able to secure its border on the north or on the south. Not that the northern border is such a threat, but the point is if it wasn't able to have a secure border for immigrants or for threats or for terrorists, it would be vulnerable. Not only would Israel be vulnerable, tell me what you think actually happens to the state of Israel as it currently sits and stands when that vulnerability is alive. What happens? Do I just continue to live life?
I mean,
Do I just keep going on with my day and then live the next 50 years, just with vulnerable borders?
No, probably not. And I'm not denying, like, without the aid, Israel is put in it's in one of the trickiest situations you could probably ask for as a nation. And there'd probably be more direct involvement into Israel from other nations, like Arab nations, if they stop receiving the money from the U.S. That would probably happen. Can we agree that the groups that have been involved the past year they've been very outspoken about what their motive? Let's start with Hamas, because I don't want to beat around the bush here. Hamas has been very open about the idea of having the pursuit in repeating October 7th and the concept of repeating a massacre, repeating murder, repeating terrorism until they have everything from the river to the sea. And if Israel did not have the funds to prevent it being eliminated from the river to the sea, do you think that it is a fair assumption that this vulnerability would likely turn into a greater chance of more October 7ths taking place? Yes, you could argue that, but at the same token, even with the billions of dollars they get, on October 7th happens, and rockets would continually go into Israel. So it is kind of like a catch-22 to a certain extent. It's like you can't prevent all of it with the money you get, but if you didn't have the money, it would be more susceptible. So it is like a lesser of the severity, and I don't think Israel should have to. I don't think they should have to, like. How do I say this? They should not have to worry. Like, no nation should have to worry about these things. Obviously, Israel deals with it on a nearly daily basis. So it's one of the trickier foreign policy issues of this generation, of multiple generations. It's been the trickiest foreign policy stance.
Sure. I mean, what I'm trying to get at is because your original question was which one is more of a detriment to your question was between the enablement of the pro-Palestinian blockade and stuff going on social media in the West versus the funding. You said which one contributes more to this inability for there to be a solution, right? That was the original question?
Yes.
So the way I see it is, if there was no funding for Israel, because you said it's either the pro-Palestinian blockade in the West on social or the funding, which one is, if the second part...
I didn't mean to make it so black and white when I worded it that way. I just more so was saying which you think carries more weight when you're talking about a diplomatic solution.
Right. Well, so that's what I'm trying to say. I think if you don't have the funding for Israel, the support for Israel, if they enter this vulnerable state, I think it's fair to say.
Arguably, they are already in.
Sure. I mean, it's always vulnerable. There's no such thing as not being in a vulnerable state here. That's just that it is what it is. I would say more vulnerable than it already is. I would make the argument that it's more important for Israel to, it's more of a necessity for them to have that for the sake of the existence of Israel still being here, regardless of all the other complexities that go around. But at the same time, as a result of the pro-Palestinian blockade, more people are inside of the rhetoric that the reason Israel is doing what it's doing is because of the funding from the US and other nations, which is why my answer is why I think both of them. Like,
Right.
I didn't ever hear anyone talk about, I didn't like ever hear a lot of these people talk about AIPAC, funding, America, US ally. I never heard a lot of this come from people up until this year, because they've never spoken any word out of their mouth about the Middle East, but they've seen things at a very, very like broad surface level, and they do exactly what you're saying right now. They see Gaza destruction, Beirut destruction, oppression, homes, bombs, airstrikes, videos, this and that, and then they see, you know, IDF, soldier.
It's an emotional response, right?
Sure. I mean,
it doesn't, like, emotional response is not logical for a lot of times, you know?
Sure. Well, it's a brilliant angle, if you ask me.
Yeah. But, you know, there's that adage, facts don't care about your feelings, you know, old kind of adage, but feelings greatly influence people's decisions. So it is
correct.
It's, you know, it's an imperfect system. You know?
Correct. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's. I gotta head out. I gotta go to work. But so I appreciate taking the call again. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, man. You too. I hope you have a good time at work. I don't know where you are, but enjoy.
Yeah, peace out.
See ya. Hold on one second. Excuse me. Sorry. This was a very fun and exciting live stream. I did not think today was going to be about Israel-Palestine because the topic was really about my life growing up. But some of the callers came in and decided to speak about that. So for all 101 of you, before I leave, I'm officially moving to a new model with streaming and with my platform. It's going to start on YouTube just like this, and we're going to do 45 minutes an hour, and then I'm going to cut, and the rest of the stream and the content that evening is going to go on to everybody who's in the Patreon community, the inner circle. There are really cool benefits and perks there, starting at just $5 a month, and it really helps. This link right here, it's pinned, takes you to my Patreon. You can join. It's going to link you directly to the private Discord text and voice channels. Come in, please. It would be awesome to have you in here. I'm starting from the ground up with this model. There are 4 ways that you can join. There's 4 different tiers. You can even become a literal sponsor for a video on YouTube. You can get individualized monthly videos from me, bi-monthly, twice a month calls, one-on-one, weekly check-ins. We have town hall meetings. We have suggestion boxes from the community for what content I should make. One piece of content every week is going to come straight from the community. We have Patron shout-outs and requests. Excuse me. We have the community, the Patreon community only streams post YouTube. You're not going to want to miss it. You're going to get so much exclusive bonus content that I'm not sharing. And there's so much. Press this. You can read, see, check it out, join. It's month to month. You don't have to commit to anything longer. I'd love to see you all there. Thank you for being here. Did I close? No. If you have something urgent, please message. And yeah, I love you all. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you all soon.